Welcome to Aspire to Lead, where we empower educators and school leaders to grow, inspire, and thrive. I'm your host, Joshua Stamper, author, speaker, and leadership coach, bringing you conversations that spark transformation, challenge the status quo in education, and equip you to make a lasting impact on your campus or in your district. For more information and resources, visit joshstamper.com as we're looking to ascend to new leadership heights together. All right, welcome back, Aspire Leaders. I'm so excited for my two guests today, Kathy Perez and Dr. Margaret Coughlan, as we are going to dive into their beautiful, beautiful book. And when I say that, I'm going to actually put it on the screen because I want you to see the cover of the Emerging Teacher Leader, 6 Dynamic Practices to Nurture Professional Growth. And this topic obviously is quite in line with this podcast. And with that, I want to thank you both for being on Aspire to Lead.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yes, it's been great to connect with you both and learn a little bit about yourself. And you both reside in California. And as my listeners know, that's a special place in my heart because that's a place I was born and then also where I grew up until I was the age of 10. So I remember it fondly. And with that, I would love for you to share out a little bit about your educational and leadership journey. So Margaret, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. My leadership journey started as a teacher leader in the classroom, and I became very curious about learning and got a master's in reading, and then started supporting teachers in their leadership work through Saturday seminars, and then working with them as a research advisor in action research projects. And then I went on to explore how teachers develop leadership practices in my dissertation and have a doctorate in education with that as my area of focus. And I also work as an adjunct faculty at St. Mary's College, and I'm heavily involved in the leadership of my school district as a teacher.
Wonderful. All right. Kathy, what about you?
Margaret was a student of mine at St. Mary's College, and so we connected right away, and I knew that her dissertation was on teaching leadership, so that's why I pursued hooking up with Margaret for this. But I'm a lifelong educator. I taught in Richmond, California for many years as a gen ed teacher, a special ed teacher, an ESL teacher, a reading specialist. And then I tried my toes as an administrator, and I was the district coordinator of staff development for 52 schools and also the curriculum director. And then I moved on over to higher ed. I said, gee whiz, if I can do all this, can I train teachers? And so I moved on over to St. Mary's College, and my latest position there was Director of Teaching Leadership, the Master of Arts in Teaching Leadership, and I'll be talking more about that a little bit later. But nevertheless, I'm also an author with 5 different books. I'm also an international consultant and instructional coach. I have visited 81 countries before I became disabled myself with a recent fall. But I am graduated now to a cane, so I keep forging ahead as any teacher leader would.
Yes, and we're so glad, Kathy, that you're getting better and making a recovery from that. I know that was really scary. I want to dive right into the book if you're both okay with that, because this is a beautiful resource, like I said, and I know it's going to help our aspiring and new leaders, especially as the school year is beginning. So what is the true value of teacher leadership in schools, and how do you think it impacts both student learning and school culture? Because I know that's a really important position. So who wants to start us off with that as far as the true value of a teacher leader?
I'll go. Schools are wonderful places. The true value of a teacher leader is that they make it happen. And without teacher leadership, it's hard to have a school that begins and sustains thriving, because teacher leaders are the people who bring ideas, digest new pedagogy, new ideas, massage them, absorb them, share them, and reach outward to the rest of their constituents in their schools and across their districts. And we can have mandates and all kinds of things that tell us how to do and what to teach. But the joy that teacher leaders bring to their practice and the efficacy with which they teach because of their learning and that they share with each other makes it happen in school. So they're invaluable.
I love it.
That's wonderful, Margaret. And I couldn't say it better myself. I will say a few words. The value of teacher leadership in schools, going out for orientation and also for promoting the Master of Arts in Teaching Leadership program. I went out to the school districts because I felt that was important, is to be physically present in their domain. And I always said, become an agent of change for your school, your classroom, your community, your district, whatever. I don't believe in top-down leadership. I've had my share of positions in that regard, and I see the power of teacher leadership from the grassroots up as being very, very important.
Let's talk through maybe some folks that are listening right now. They may not see themselves as a leader because they don't have that title. So I want to know, how can schools help teachers recognize and embrace their leadership potential?
So I think for teacher leadership, the idea of teacher leadership, historically, teacher leaders have been tapped in to support schools across the country in different ways that we've rolled out new ideas and new ways that we should be teaching. And in that regard, teachers have understood that maybe teacher leadership is something for someone else to do that they can then be led. And yet we now know that teacher leadership actually begins in the classroom with the teacher herself or himself. And working in your classroom, developing your practice, and learning how to teach really well is a form of teacher leadership. And like all leadership journeys, leadership is a path. And when teachers start to think about themselves as teacher leaders, to just really understand that we start in the classroom. And from the classroom, we better our practice, and then we help our neighbors, and we help beyond different committees. We can help support teachers coming into the grade level or into the school, and also through the process of professional development. So leadership, if we look at leadership as a way to have continuous outward action that helps other people learn, we look at teacher leadership as being that part of that action, and to be an action-oriented person. As Kathy said, an agent of change. Well, teachers are change agents in their schools because they can make a difference by implementing ways to teach and how to work with children and how to understand and work with colleagues. So all of this is part of teacher leadership. I invite everyone to teacher leadership. It's there for the taking. The more people who participate in leadership, the more we have as leaders. And this is more of a collective kind of leadership where everyone can bring something to the table and everyone continues to develop. And that is why, please be a teacher. Consider yourself being a teacher leader, because you probably are one in your classroom. And now what's the next step? And how can we keep emerging, which is the title of the book.
Indeed. So I would just like to add to Margaret's articulate response that indeed teacher leadership is a catalyst for connection and collaboration. In fact, I wrote recently a blog for Solution Tree on that very topic, on the new face of teacher leadership, getting into the importance of collaboration, because teaching can be such a lonely profession. you're in there, you shut the door, and it's just you and the students. Now you can emerge as a leader in that classroom, but there's just so much more power in sharing your expertise and the tools that have worked for you with others in collaborating and building those healthy relationships that we talk about in the book, for instance. And I just want to say in the book, it's very teacher-centric in the fact that we have reproducibles and we have reflections, and it's almost like a workbook. And I know teachers can relate to workbooks because they grew up with workbooks, but get your mind out of the gutter for a second. This is a different kind of workbook. It's more proactive. It's reflective in nature, which we all have to take time to press the pause button and reflect on our practice and what makes a good leader. You know, because as Margaret said, we've been leading our students. Why not lead others in our community, in our school?
Thank you, Kathy. Being able to lead other people requires self-leadership as well.
Mhm.
And so when I look at imagining that we were really excited about something we were doing in our classroom or a new idea we got from professional development, and realizing that what I have to say is important for others. And that gets people out of this idea that being maybe timid about sharing or participating. And it helps build the capacity at the school level, because the more people participate in sharing their knowledge and their understanding, the more we move away from maybe a congenial conversation to a collegial conversation and have critical conversations about learning. And those conversations are really hard to have if we don't start putting our foot in the water and having these conversations with our peers and with our principals and with other administrators, so that we can start to bring ideas out that work with kids, and we can start to build relationships in a professional way with other educators. And that professional relationship gets us out of our classroom, because we're now all professionals. We're all working in our professional capacity as practitioners, just like other professionals. And this practitioner idea of like working new ideas, trying them out, maybe being able to be vulnerable enough to say, it didn't quite work, but those conversations happen when we have more of them. So the more opportunities we have to talk and share, the better. And that's like learning communities, book studies, lesson study, action research. All of these build reflection opportunities. And being reflective is a joy to a teacher's heart. That's what we do with our children. And it's a joy to educators' heart when we talk about, this didn't work, this did work. What's your idea? How can we make it better for the kids?
And that's our PLCs and grade level groups and teachers taking the lead in those kind of instances. You start small and then you gradually move into bigger and better leadership roles.
And I also think that the whole idea of leadership in teachers is we haven't really had a lot of conversations about leadership as teachers. So we have you can be a teacher leader and you can be a TOSA or, this or that, or you could be on this committee and you wear all these hats that support school districts, which are really important things to do. But we haven't really looked at leadership development and saying, like the leadership development in other areas, we have leadership development for teachers to be aware, reflection is part of it. What's your leadership compass? How did you show up today? What is your learning style? What is your style? Do you know how you react? What's your SEL level? Where are you? How can you change how you are approaching something, or how can you receive something in a different way so that you can open your lens and take in new ideas and go, hey, I tried this today. That's kind of leadership growth. Or I connected with this person today. That's leadership growth. And I'm on this path. And I would say starting out as a teacher myself and going through education because of this great curiosity about how leadership develops, because leadership matters. And it matters for all of our teachers, and it matters for our administrators. It matters for our CNI directors and everyone involved. We're all in the same pot. And the more we all participate, the better our schools will be.
And just to capitalize on that, Margaret, I'd like to say that also in my journey as a teacher leader, I've fulfilled the role of an instructional coach, which provides tools and ideas and strategies to others. And that's so empowering. And it's a way that I can share what works with others. And that's another role of a teacher leader, is an instructional coach. It doesn't have to be the traditional leadership role that we think of with top-down leadership. It's from the heart and the soul and your experience in the classroom about what works that really makes a difference to others.
So, Margaret, I'm going to throw this to you. So the 6 dynamic practices, if you wouldn't mind just kind of working through those real quick. But my question to those 6 dynamic practices in the book is, which one do you think is the hardest for teachers to master?
Oh, that's a super great question. And I will just say that with the reason we came up with this idea of 6 dynamic practices is because of a couple things. One thing we know from literature, that you can grow as a teacher leader, and the work of educators, education is this beautiful place to be, yet you work really hard. And so we know it in leadership, in teacher leadership, you are giving and giving and giving and learning, but you also need to sustain your leadership and your work by working on, your inner development and your balance and taking care of yourself. So that's how these dynamic practices came up, because it's not a continuous path. Teachers are teachers for a long tenure, or you're involved in education for a very long tenure, and it waxes and wanes because of different, we have different things going on, and we need to keep our energy going. And there is a lot of passion and joy in being a leader and in being a teacher and in being involved in education. It's wonderful to be in education. And I would say that the most challenging one, I believe, would be the last chapter, cultivating a growth mindset. And the reason it is because of that long view of teaching and leadership. And the long view is that, what can I learn from today? What can I learn from what I did yesterday? What can I envision I could do tomorrow? And the growth mindset, the whole topic of a growth mindset is inviting, because we are limitlessness in what we can do as human beings. We can continue to learn. We can continue to grow. We can continue to push our boundaries and meet people and put ourselves in experiences that are challenging. But without a growth mindset, particularly in leadership, we might not be able to manage the stress that comes with those new experiences. Or we might not be able to be as resilient as we could be with those new experiences, or even the tension of new knowledge and trying to balance new knowledge and old knowledge in your brain while you're still working on teaching children or adults, So this whole idea that the reflection piece builds in, and the growth mindset piece means that I'm developing. And I'm going to give myself experiences in education with other teachers, with cohorts of children, and reading, blogs, LinkedIn, all of this, just to keep on moving forward. Because as what we know about, we're in education, right? So we got to put ourselves where we continue to be so. And having that growth mindset, I think the reason that chapter is important is because as you read the book, you go through your purpose and how we can really grow through professional developments, and how important change is with others, not siloed in your classroom, through collaboration and critical dialogue. And then the whole nurturing yourself by building healthy relationships and helping yourself be aware of your growth in your relationships, to sustain them and to nurture yourself. And then to just take care of yourself, being healthy, keeping the balance going, having the green time that we need. And then basically cultivating a growth mindset is the one that I think I'm always mindful of, this important work that has been done for all learners, that we are always learning, and it's okay. We try things out from them, and we have things that we've mastered, and we still find we still are mastering them again.
I would like to add to that, Margaret and Josh, is that we've got to keep hope alive and remain a positive attitude in order to be an effective leader and to be a catalyst with our community. And in order to do that, we have also included in the book ideas for building a growth mindset with your students as well as yourself, and how to do that most effectively. So that's very important.
It's almost as if it's an infinite horizon when I look at being a teacher leader, or any leader really, but teaching is so important, that because it's the world, it's our future. So if we look at that growth mindset as, I have this opportunity, I have this horizon where I'm headed, and I'll get there at some point, but I'm not there yet, but I'm going to keep learning and meeting people and encouraging others to be on this path. Because when we have others with us, the relationships are great, but we have this thing called collective efficacy, where we can work together and we can look at our work together and we can build each other's work together. And we look at schools as communities of learning as well. And there are these little pods all across, the world where people are working on learning. And, that efficacy in that little pod matters. And those teachers and those students and those the leaders hierarchically, those are important people. We can't do it without any of us. And
teaching is not an isolated task.
No.
It's definitely dependent on others to make it all work.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to close it down with this question. So for our teachers that are listening right now to this conversation, they want to be a leader someday, but maybe they don't know where to start. What's the first step that they should take? Kathy, do you want to kick this off?
Well, sure. I'll just say to reflect on their own purpose and why they became a teacher. And that's how we dedicated our book. The first chapter is all about that and how to do that. And I think, to be most effective, they've got to reflect on what difference they want to make in the world and with their kids and with their community. And then they're more effective to collaborate with others. But I really feel that grade level groups are a great start, just to problem solve what's working, what's not working. Instructional coaching, like I mentioned, is another facet of teaching leadership. There are many different ways that a teacher can make a difference.
I agree, Kathy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Someone said, how can I be a teacher leader? I've been involved in mentoring and induction for many, many years, and working with new teachers, stepping into a classroom. One of the things we know about learning is that we have different ways of learning, and by watching other people vicarious experiences, we can also gain a lot of information. So in a way, also, you step into your classroom and you work on your craft and you build your confidence, but also observe people around you and listen to what's going on. And if you notice that how your staff meeting works, if someone's speaking up and telling, how that's working in their classroom, or asking good questions, or even asking hard questions, those are learning experiences. And observing people in your site and in your district, and seeing what kind of hats people wear, because there are a lot of hats in education. And then I also believe that there's opportunities outside of your school where you can learn. You can go earn a master's, you can get another credential, another certificate. You can build your knowledge base. I would say that by increasing your knowledge base, you're empowered to talk. And, county offices often have classes that are available for teachers, and you can have a book club, find a book that would be great and say, hey, come read with me, and get different voices in. They bring people to the table with you, and you can start practicing not even practicing, you can enjoy conversations with other people that are in your niche, what you're curious about in learning. And trying out for different positions is also a great idea. I would say always, always, always tap into the passion. What is your why? Why are you here? Did you become a teacher to make a difference for the kids you teach? And if that's your driver, get yourself into situations where you can start to have a voice there and where you can start to learn about that. Are you in teaching so that you can be a better reading teacher? Then put yourself in situations that will help develop that, or in math, or in science, or in social emotional learning and that whole arena of wonderful support for kids. So I think whatever you're doing, if you say to yourself, I want to be a teacher leader, I'm in my classroom, I want to move out a little bit. Pay attention to what's going on, see what's out there, and say, what was it that's driving me? And see where you can get yourself into opportunities to have conversations and experiences with other people. I would say opportunities are precisely it, and they're a gift. So when we're in schools working and we have all these wonderful opportunities to participate, they are just that. They're positive ways to be involved in your community. And I know teaching is a lot of work, yet by connecting with other educators, you get rejuvenated and you get refreshed, because you get to meet people with other ideas or similar ideas and have conversations that are valuable to your purpose, right?
And having conversations, is that the key to your effectiveness? Because being a clear communicator is of the essence. And that's why I have the teachers in the program and the master's program reflect on what is their biggest challenge, what is their action research question, and how do they want to solve that. And I have them go through lots of different steps where we reflect on them as a presenter and as a communicator, so that their message does not get dissipated or mixed up. And that's why, Margaret, you were very involved in this. That's why we have this thing called an Action Research Symposium, where the teacher leaders share their action research with the beginning teachers. We get the yin and the yang together, and that's a catalyst to conversation. But it's also a way that teachers can learn to be clear communicators so that their message does not get mixed up.
It's very wise. I love that. All right. So as far as our listeners, if they have any questions or they want to contact you for any sort of reason, how would they be able to do that? So Kathy, if someone has a question for you, where would you direct them?
I have a website at drkathyperez.com that has all my links to Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm on it all the social media, because I really believe in getting the word out. Mm-hmm. So that's one way to get a hold of me.
Perfect. Margaret, what about you?
I'm on LinkedIn, and I would say people can email me if they'd like to contact me. It's my name, Margaret Coughlan, @me.com. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. And so what I'll do too is I'll make sure that all of this is in the show notes for folks. It'll also be on joshstamper.com. So that way you can reach out to either Kathy or Margaret. And again, they're wonderful resources for you. Like I said before, their book is phenomenal. I have it in hand. I've read it. Kathy's got it too. That's awesome. So we've got this beautiful butterfly, which is a fantastic metaphor for our folks, our teacher leaders, as they are growing and morphing into their new person and making a huge impact, obviously, on the campus and within their district. So I want to say to the both of you, thank you so much for joining me today. It's obvious you have a huge heart for aspiring and emerging leaders. And I'm just so thankful that you were able to provide not only your passion, but your generous heart, and then also your wisdom in this topic and joining me for Aspire to Lead.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Josh. It was a privilege and an honor to be able to share with others.
Yes.
Our passion.
Yes, quite a privilege. And thank you for the work you do, by the way, because as somebody who gobbles up leadership information, books and blogs, I'm grateful that you have your show, because leadership drives everything, being able to participate,
Yes.
and share our joys and our wisdom. Thank you.
Yeah, it means the world to me. So thank you so much.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. Explore more podcasts at www.teachbetterpodcastnetwork.com. We'll see you on the next episode.